Dave?
I am great, man.
Oh, good, good, good.
I am
Good to hear.
absolutely great. I had a hard day today, but you know what? I will tell you this because I'm kind of like Superman at times, John. Okay, because I never say what my nighttime job is at my daytime job. I try and keep them both quite separated. And I had this person, a client today, come in and basically say, I know what your nighttime job is. I listen to Spaced Out Radio on Spotify every day. And I've got my
Nice,
friends hooked on it, my sister hooked on it. And this is all around
nice.
my community. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I didn't know. Like I'm trying to hide my identity around here.
So,
And
so Dave, I got to tell you, man. So it was a number of years ago that I used to, like everyone else, I kept two identities, online, offline, and I ended up in a job where I had to do some real public stuff, and so I really didn't have a choice in the matter. I started becoming public very quick, and what I decided to do was to just, you know, give up that ridiculous model and just be as completely equal from both sides as I possibly could, and just embrace it, and just try to minimize it, try to watch your T's, and I mean, it's all that kind of normal stuff you're doing anyway, right? But you gotta roll with it, because it doesn't always end badly. I mean, look at the experience you had. That was really nice.
very nice. Very nice. So it was very cool. It was very cool.
Yeah,
I was
that's
quite
super
shocked
cool.
by that, and so if they're listening out there, thank you for coming on in. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Otherwise, you're all good, ready for the weekend?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Little actually. I think a little brain sapped from some of the um, interviews today. Just really just a lot to absorb.
Well, let's get to some UFO stuff, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
What you got for us tonight? Let's start off. Let me guess. No, 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 no. I'm trying to channel something here now. No, 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 no. All right. Mick West gets a little bit of a slap on the wrist for one of his little ramblings about UFOs.
Yeah. So this, I got to admit, I find this one interesting, and I a lot of what's happened so far, I've thought to myself, yeah, that makes sense. This one caught me off guard, because one, Mick is, as I said before, I've talked to Mick privately. I like Mick. I think he's a smart dude. And so he puts together his arguments carefully in a way that, you know, I mean, they aren't really easy to completely shut down, right? And essentially, the guy who actually filed the patent on these devices decided to speak up on the record and allow what he said to be published. And essentially, it's quite a little love letter, and I highly recommend everyone read it. And I will offer a link to it. But essentially, what this guy does is, in a fair number of words, he completely destroys Mick West's entire rotational horizon argument. I mean, just decimates it to a point where I don't see how anyone can come back without violating rules of logic. And
Okay, what happened here?
what do you mean?
What happened to Mick West? Like who tuned him up?
Well, no. What it is that this has been Mick West's hypothesis for a long time. This is his whole thing against the not the go fast, the gimbal, right? This is his whole argument against gimbal video. This is why he considers the gimbal video to be completely debunked, Like, I mean, he considers the gimbal video to be completely useless, right? Because he feels that through his analysis of the way the camera lens rotates and the way the mirrors behave, he felt that he could prove, and he did all these simulations. And the thing is that he's using decent logic. He's not a dumb guy, right? So he was going through, and he had very limited information, is what it really came down to. And essentially, this guy just basically took his entire argument about the way it does rotation, and because basically Mick's argument was that the device will always avoid rotation because rotation is a mechanical movement, and therefore it costs energy, and so therefore it would minimize mechanical movement. Turns out it's the exact opposite. The thing is designed to be in perpetual mechanical movement. It is always moving. That's how it was designed to work. And so, I mean, essentially, like, it's just, and then you get down to the second part of it, and the guy basically mentions, he goes, oh, and by the way, the mirrors, they're only used in some very specific circumstances, and the gimbal actually isn't one of them. So basically, then on top of everything else, he went out and said, oh yeah, those mirrors that you spent all that time explaining why the mirrors were this issue and they were causing all these problems, yeah, the mirrors weren't used.
So is this a fighter pilot who
This is the guy that invented the FLIR pod.
Oh, wow.
That's what I said in the beginning. This is the guy who filed the patent on the technology. He is the inventor of this.
Has Mick West responded yet?
I have not seen any direct response. I started looking for one earlier, and I got distracted by something else. And I mean, honestly, like, the thing is that where Mick's hypothesis fails in light of this new information is in a way that, honestly, there's no way Mick could have predicted. All of Mick's logic was very sound. I mean, he did do a decent analysis of it. The problem is that he was lacking information. And this new information basically, it nullifies. And so, I mean, personally, if I was Mick, I would just be like, wow, that's freaking amazing. I had no idea. That's wow. Okay, well, next. I mean, just no big deal. Just move on, right? Now you got the data. You didn't have it before, right? Life goes on, But I doubt that will happen.
Mick actually has responded to this. He said, nobody refuted my theory. Lacey Cook is only able to comment on public documents like his patent. And then Merrick VR, this person you're talking about, do we want to start with the camera bumps? Your theory is disputed by every shed of at-FLIR video evidence out there and an active duty FA-18 weapon systems operator, or the light patterns disputed by a digital optics expert. Mick says, I don't, but unless his refutation can explain the four observables, that it's not actually refutation. It seems it's just him answering Merrick's narrow question.
Oh, that's interesting. So I personally would consider that to be a logical fallacy. I would consider that moving the goalpost, because before it was a question of whether Mick's hypotheses, they're not theories, whether his hypotheses have any validity to them. And that's what this addresses, because it addresses the very fundamental nature of two of his hypotheses. And so that's kind of a weird way to approach it. Although I must admit, I think that, wow, no, I'm because the thing is that now, by doing that, now what he's saying is, it's not about refuting my hypothesis. It's about you proving that object is a UFO. That's what he's saying. He's saying you have to basically provide evidence for the four observables. I don't know why he said 4, not 5, but 4, right? Well, I mean, that basically what he's saying is you need to basically explain why this is a UFO. That's moving the goalpost. That is a logical fallacy. Unless that was something that was heavily discussed before that I'm not aware of. To me, that's moving the goalpost.
All right, let's move on to topic number 2 tonight, which is a UFO spotted by a dude in the UK, the United Kingdom, in
No, no,
Aberdeen.
actually, no, I think this is Aberdeen, East Coast.
Is it Aberdeen, East Coast?
I believe it is.
Or,
When I
Aberdeen,
first saw it, I thought
Washington?
it was UK. When I first saw it, I thought it was UK. But then I was reading, and I was digging into who Aberdeen is right before we went on, because in the end, my belief is it's Aberdeen, out near the Aberdeen testing grounds.
All right. Well, let's talk about it. What happened here?
Well, so
An Aberdeenshire. You don't do shires.
That's true. That has to be the UK then. That has to be.
It's got to be the
It's really
UK.
funny. It must have redone the text for American English, because some of the words they used weren't right for British. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
English is English, right?
Well, there's all those other versions of English, and then there's American.
Very true.
Very different things. Very different things.
By the way, it's Z, not Z. Z.
Well, see, that's the other thing I want to point out. A lot of those I actually far prefer. I think calling it Z makes perfect sense. Z, you know how hard it is for kids to say Z. So anyway, what's really cool about this story is that it is an incredibly classic UFO story. You have a gentleman who is seeing many things. He has taken many pictures. He has the pictures. He's willing to show you the pictures. The pictures show something odd but inconclusive. No surprise there. In addition to this, there is a second witness, a female who, upon leaving her house, saw a black triangle and blacked out. And the next thing she knew, she was on his doorstep, and like an hour had gone by or something. So you got missing time, you got a triangle, you got a blackout, you got everything. It's like a smorgasbord, right?
Smorgasbord.
Here's the crazy part, right? Someone cared. A person actually wrote an article on this, and it got published in a local paper. To me, that's the news here. It's the fact that people actually listened to this guy and didn't just immediately go, "Oh, he's 72 and he's crazy," right? I mean, it's actually a decently written article where they're actually asking questions, and to me, it's silly, because to me, like, what this article is what all of them should have been this whole bloody time, right? You see an anomaly, you report it. Don't worry about what you think it is. Don't make any grand generalizations. Just report what you saw, right? But to me, it's a perfect example of how things are changing.
John, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We are going to continue with Jon Hudson, the fedora-wearing wonder, and the Unbiased UFO report when we return on SOR. John's loving the woo from the UK. Missing time. Oh, I love it. Love it. We'll be back on Space Out Radio in the final half hour next. I love that woo, John. I love that woo.
I couldn't believe reading this story. I mean, it was like at first I was like, okay, so he's seeing things. Okay, yeah, he took pictures. Okay, yeah, I've seen these pictures before. These little pictures, and then he starts talking about this friend, and then a triangle comes into it, and I'm like, triangle? Like what? And then missing time, and I'm like, huh? Like this is like, I mean, it's like, it's like James Fox wrote it.
That's good stuff.
Surprising. Very, very surprising.
I actually had to take Monday off of work. I am so tired right now that I need a sleep day.
No, it's good that you're doing that for yourself.
Oh, gosh. I cleaned the house last night. After I got off the air, man, I cleaned the house. Because there was some stuff I didn't have time to do it today.
Still, after all these years, if someone says to me they stay up all night clean their house, the first thing I think is, do you get into like too much like cold medication or something? Like you popping
No.
like flat tops, or you get into your kids Adderall or something? You know,
I cannot stand dishes in the sink. Cannot stand dishes in the sink.
I'm with you.
Drives me nuts. And then it led to, other stuff, like my son had a shower and left his clothes on the ground. So I went and picked those up. Hockey season was done. I took his hockey bag, down from the one room, put it in the storage. Why would you say that? You should let your little girl play hockey.
They smell like some creature from another planet. Like, that's why.
You don't start smelling until your teenage years.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll trust you on that one.
Yeah. And then this weekend, I got to do the website. I got to do all the thumbnails. I got to do the, what else do I have to do? I might be able to sleep tomorrow night. I'm hoping. But then I lose an hour due to the goddamn time change.
I know. I'm so happy about the time change, though. Like, I really don't feel normal when we're in the other mode. Dave, you should consider trying one of these like phase sleeping models where like you sleep for 4 hours, then get up and work for 2 hours, and then go back and sleep for 4 hours and get up and just do that for a day. You might actually have like 4 incredibly productive hours and still be able to get 16 hours of sleep out of it.
Maybe. And I got to work late tomorrow. I work my daytime job tomorrow. And then I have to go in on Sunday to meet a client because that's the only day that I can meet him.
I love that. And if you don't come in on Saturday, don't bother coming in on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Well, tax time, right? That's okay. I will find time to sleep. Not much else. But I will find time to sleep.
But I got to say, I'm pretty excited about the fact that Ford has decided to split into 2 companies. One for electronic and one for gas.
I rode in a Ford Mach-E.
Is that Ford
Mustang? Yeah, Ford Mustang Mach-E.
What was it like?
The battery in winter up here only lasts for 200 kilometers. So that's about 160 miles. But they've got 2 size batteries. You can come with the standard battery that we can't even get to Vancouver to. Or you can get the bigger battery for like $8,000 more.
Yeah, but the thing is that if I get like a full tank of gas, like I'm not making it more than 120 miles anyway.
What are you talking about?
140 maybe? I mean, it's like I'm not going to get much more than that. I mean, like to me, like 160 miles between rest stops is about normal.
Is it 160 miles between rest stops?
No, I'm just saying that's what I would often do is because I have to get gas about every 100 and every.
Yeah, but you're driving an SRT8 though at that time. Hold on, John.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. 9 miles a gallon.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the fedora-wearing Jon Hudson and the Unbiased UFO Report, a UFO sighting out of Aberdeen in the UK that had missing time, multiple witnesses, and a black triangle, a plethora of woo as we speak. Jon, welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, and the thing is that, you know, to me, this is, I don't want to seem too negative, but this is in many ways a good example of what I find very frustrating about this field. And that is that you get these very interesting cases that don't really actually bring you any more data, you know? But they're still important, right? Because, I mean, you know, anecdotal data is still valuable, and certainly it's valuable from an experience point of view. But the thing is that it's not like, you know, we didn't learn anything from this event that we can then use to then go update any of our working hypotheses. Okay, is my main point, right? And so, but it doesn't mean it's not important. And so the thing is that in the past, this person wouldn't have reported this, or they would have, and they would have been ridiculed. They would have been, they would maybe feel stupid. I mean, in really bad situations, they might have actually had ramifications for it in a small town, whatever. And here you have, you know, this 72-year-old man, you know, making this report, showing these pictures. They show his pictures in the article, and they're willing to share the account of his friend. And I'm really impressed that they took him seriously, and that they actually wrote his story as you should, because it's a story and he experienced it, whatever it is. And I think it's awesome they did. I'm really surprised, and to me I think it's a good sign.
Well, it is good reporting and everything. And, you know, the fact that they took it seriously with missing time is very cool, because there's a lot of woo in that story that would turn a lot of journalists off.
Oh, yes, by leaps and bounds, right? By leaps and bounds. But the thing is okay, yes, at the same time, he was very careful. You know, it's amazing how much quote unquote woo anyone can handle if it's caged very specifically from the point of view of the experience, right? What did you see? What did you smell? What did you feel? Like that kind of stuff, not like what you think it is or what you think it might be, right? And so, you know, so to me, it's what he does is that he says, okay, you know, she said she saw this, and then she said this happened to her, and then she said she experienced this. There was no guesswork at all, and I think that's what makes it more palatable.
All right, finally tonight, earlier before this show, at Disclosure Tonight on YouTube, Thomas Fessler's channel, it was a massive trio of people there. Lawyer
Yes.
Daniel Sheehan, Sean Cahill, and Luis Elizondo.
Yes.
What'd they get into tonight?
Well, so what was really interesting was that in the very beginning, Thomas started kind of advertising this, just like in the beginning of the actual session, as something different. And I was like, I'm thinking to myself, you know, one thing I like about Thomas is that he like me, he likes to look at things at different angles. But I'm like, how different can you get with these guys, right? And it was, and the reason why it was because it was a far more adult, far more pragmatic conversation that was very specifically geared to what we can actually accomplish from a legal and government point of view. And what was really interesting was that what else ended up, I mean, there's a lot of very interesting things that got discussed through the whole thing. Sean Cahill, man, if you see this, hats off to you, man. You said some really wonderful things. You know, I mean, it was like this part of it too was a little bit of a venting session in a way, for Lou and Sean, not in a really negative way, but just in a, expressing their frustration with some of the things that have happened and so forth. And it a lot of it kind of became a discussion about the fact that we probably want to consider a different approach to some of this information now, because of what we've achieved so far, because of what we need to achieve next, because of the work involved. That they went so far as to say that that the entertainment era of the UFO has ended, and I don't think that's necessarily a fair thing to say, because the thing is that every nonfiction thing in the world has some fictional spin to it, right? But I will say that I think that there's some validity to what they said, in that as look if you, part of disclosure is general acceptance, right? Meaning that most people believe in something, right? For that to happen, it has to be repackaged and spun in very different ways to a lot of different people. I mean, it's an incredibly challenging, insane sort of effort that needs to accomplish. And so, to me, I think that I think that essentially what it comes down to is that what we need is we need a more I don't even know what word I want to use. Professional. I don't even know what word I want to use.
Accountability.
Yeah, maybe that, or maybe it's maybe you think of it more as being operational versus strategic. Maybe this is more operational, boots on the ground sort of thing. But essentially, there is, I guess the primary message came down to is this is getting really real. I mean, essentially is what you can kind of nut the whole conversation down to is this is getting really, really, really real, and this is getting very serious, and we're making a lot more progress than we probably thought we would. But the thing is that a lot of what they're offering, even under a best case scenario, right? They get everything they want and they hand it to all of us in a silver platter. It's not what a lot of people actually want. What a lot of people actually want, the government can't give them. What a lot of people actually want, the military cannot give them, right? And so that's the challenge. Is that is that a lot of what, like they can say, hey, we think that that we should kind of start discussing data this way because that's what's in the best interest for the goals we're trying to achieve. And if you are trying to achieve those same goals, then far out. But it doesn't speak to essentially another half or more of the community that feels that it is only through some form of direct communication that any sense of what's going on can be achieved.
I want to ask you, because in portions that I heard of that, they were, I don't want to say combative, but they were very, very forceful in their words towards people in government getting into it for the wrong reasons, and that they're supposed to be for the people, by the people, and we see a bunch of them being for themselves and by themselves. And Lou really, really was irritated about this, and Sean Cahill very much concurred that these are experiences that can no longer be ignored. And when will the government of the United States start to open their eyes and remember who they work for?
Yep. And also I want to applaud the three of them, because they were incredibly careful with their language. And it was basically people in the room and even the other hosts that were sometimes saying things that were a little more aggressive. I think that the three of them actually were very careful. I was actually kind of impressed. But essentially, oh sorry, hold on, I'm gonna go off. but essentially, yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting situation for sure.
But being that forward and direct towards members of government, I mean, that was a shot across the bow, man.
Well, yeah, it's because of the fact that they're finally starting to share the resistance that they've been seeing inside. That's basically what's been going on, is that up until now they've been seeing all this resistance and they couldn't really complain about it because they weren't really sure that they were supposed to be doing what they were doing in the first place, right? And now they got a little bit of wind in their sails, and now they're coming out and they're saying, "Hey, you know what? This is going on, and it's wrong, and it's not just wrong for this; it's fundamentally wrong." And as like people who care about the country, you really want to learn how this works because this isn't good and it needs to be fixed. And that was a good conversation to have.
Well, I thought it was too. I thought it was too. And you know, it's going to be very interesting moving forward with this because I want to know. I want to know if those words have some gasoline on them. You know, maybe I shouldn't use gasoline these days because you know we're trying to shut down every pipeline that's in North America right now. But you battery operators, you Duracells, you're a Duracell, John. You're a Duracell. No, I'm teasing.
Lithium ion only, my friend.